Welcome everybody. This is a very special edition. This is a road trip edition of the Hour of Power radio show. We're not going to have sound effect every minute, so go ahead and drink whenever you deem fit. We'll have a few drinks here and there that you can come and drink too. But right now we're coming to you from I-84 as we are driving out to Portland for the Portland Beer Fest this weekend. You can read our reviews. We might have one up on BoiseBarGuide.com. So go there. Send your questions in to hourofpowershow@gmail.com. We're not going to get them right now, but you can answer them later.
Yeah, and obviously you're not going to, get the broadcast right now, so it's okay. It works out well. We'll answer them when we get back, and hopefully you guys will post this. Hopefully you guys listen to it and want to know more about what we did on this shenanigan-filled weekend. Right now we're passing mile marker 314 in Oregon, so basically it means we're in bumfuck nowhere.
Exactly. I mean, we haven't reached the good-looking part of Oregon yet. We're right in the one that looks exactly like, desert Idaho at the moment.
Yeah, we're kind of in ugly stepsister Oregon compared to good-looking Oregon.
Exactly. Just kind of like how northern Idaho is so much nicer than southern Idaho.
This is correct. So, yeah, it's actually pretty much the biggest discrepancy you can almost find in the state. Well, except for maybe Oregon, I guess. Either way, it goes from really nice to really shitty really quickly.
This is true, but even though this is the shitty part, I mean, this is the hot part of summer, and they're still green, on the side of the roads. If this was Idaho, this would all be brown.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You'd be looking at that and be like, wow, a forest fire could start anywhere there. But here I'm like, there's some greenish parts to it.
Yeah.
It doesn't look as bad.
Yeah, we're 8 miles out of Baker City right now, for those of you that want to know the exact location.
This is true. We're driving pretty slow because we're driving with the trailer behind us, so I'll give you an update on some of the cars that piss me off that pass us.
Actually, Matthew, I just had an idea come to me. We're going roughly 60 miles an hour right now.
Yes.
That means that every mile marker we pass is roughly 1 minute elapsed.
Ooh.
So every time I see a mile marker, I will announce drink. And so for those of you that are watching or listening back at home, or for when we listen to this back at home,
yeah,
we can drink along with us, since we're not technically able to drink in the car, which we are not right now.
I know, exactly. But maybe we should go over our plan that we had discussed earlier on how we should be able to drink in the car.
That's true. All right, yeah. So, like we said, we don't have a lot of internet right now. We've got our phones, which are on non-3G internet, so it takes a while. So we won't be up to date on any news, so to speak. But so therefore, we're going to fill it with a lot more BS, which is a lot more fun for a lot of our listeners.
This is true.
So our idea earlier, while we were discussing things, was some people, not all people are created equally. If that was the case, then I would be training for the Olympics right now.
That is true.
Certain people can do certain things better than other people. It's just a fact of life. It's part of Darwin's theory of Darwinism.
Exactly. I am a lot like you, however, I have about 50 pounds on you.
Exactly.
If not more. So it's we are mostly the same, but we're also different in our same ways.
That's right. And so we decided that, uniform laws aren't really fair to everybody, such as the DUI law. We think that people should get tested as to what alcohol percentage or BAC level they should be able to drive with, and if they reach a certain level, say 0.12, they should be able to have an open container law. Now, I'm not saying you can have a bottle of Jack sit next to you while you're driving down the street, but
yeah, that was a good extra that you added in there. Any beer that you have open in the car has to be less than 5%.
That's right, because if you drink a beer that's less than 5% and you drink it like you're drinking a pop, going down the interstate, odds are you're going to have one about every 45 minutes. You're not ever going to really get drunk doing this, and as long as you're smart about things, you should be able to have an open container in the law if you've proven that you can handle it. And I think that that's one of the flaws in the system, is that they don't allow people to prove it. Granted, I understand that it'd be a lot of extra money and that there's too much liability, blah blah blah. But at the same point, all right, Kim's probably going to listen to this, so she's going to get mad at me for saying this, but Kim gets drunk really easily.
Yes, she does.
And the fact is, her motor skills probably deteriorate at maybe 0.04, whereas ours are probably closer to 0.12.
Exactly, because I feel comfortable driving even when, I've had a lot of beer to drink, because I don't feel that drunk. I feel totally coherent. I mean, I'm not going to hit anybody. My motor skills are still just the same. But like with Kim, after about one beer, I think she's already starting to feel it. She's already losing motor skills.
And so if you guys were to compare you two both driving at 0.09, right above the legal limit,
Yes.
I would venture to say that you would drive 200% better than she would at that point. And I think that, if cops were to watch you two driving, I think that you would be, the cops wouldn't pull you over, but they would be more inclined to pull Kim over for something.
Or another good test is if we could do like a drunk test.
Right.
Me and Kim, we drink about the same amount of beer. Which would be hard for her, but we drink about the same amount of beer. I do a drunk test, she does a drunk test, and I'll bet I would pass pretty easily, as she would not.
Yeah, I would go ahead and concur with that. And so what we're saying is that, road trips suck. There's no way of getting around that. But they'd be a lot more enjoyable if you were able to, have a beer to at least, make it somewhat better. We're not saying get drunk on the road, because that is not
That's not
a good
responsible.
idea. Yeah, it's not responsible at all. But we're saying, everybody enjoys a nice little buzz. You get a little bit happier, you enjoy things more. If you can drive with that, why not? And that was our thinking on that whole process. And so therefore we had to resort to Snooze, made by Camel, another unofficial sponsor.
Yeah, that's going to be our unofficial sponsor of this trip, I believe.
Because that got us feeling pretty nice. And
yeah, we had a nice little buzz going before we left. We had that kind of kept our buzz going.
We edit that part. We don't
Fine,
want
the
to
cops are
indict
going to be
ourselves.
listening.
Alright, so anyways, yeah, and putting that in just exemplified it. It's like, wow, I feel really good right now. And so therefore, maybe halfway through the show, we'll probably put in another Snooze just to, keep it going.
Yeah, exactly, because, there's nothing wrong with, buzz. Some of the commercials say buzz driving is drunk driving. It's like, no, it's not, because buzz driving, basically, I'm just a little bit happier.
Yeah,
and honestly,
exactly.
Don't you want a happy driver?
At that point, for us, it's mood altering. It's not motor skill altering.
Exactly. I think that there's certain levels.
Yeah.
When you get drunk, you start off, you get a little mood altering, then maybe you get some memory altering, you get some motor skill altering, maybe a different order than that.
Right, but something
close
like
to that.
And so, like we said, we think people should be, and the best way to do it is for each state, just have one spot in each state, therefore you don't spend a lot of money within them. And if people want to apply for this, they can. And even if, it costs them $150, it may be worth it. And
I would pay for something like that.
And so what you do is you set up a virtual reality system. I mean, I know that, what's the, Lexus, I think they have this thing, and you can make cheaper versions of it. But basically what you do is it's a virtual reality driving simulation where you test people's BAC, like say every 0.02, that's what the increments are, starting at 0.06, 0.08, 0.1, 0.12, and at each BAC level you have them get into this driving simulator and you see how they react. And then once they get to the point where they screw up in the slightest, and we're not trying to make this some loose end, left wing, let everybody drive and live how they want thing. It's, let people act responsibly when they can. And let them, as soon as they screw up, if they miss a blinker, if they turn too sharply, if they turn too loosely, if they, if they speed more than 5 miles over the speed limit, because everybody speeds more.
Yeah.
But, if they swerve, if they hit a sidewalk, if they hit a rumble strip, whatever, that's where you say, all right, you failed this level, last level is what you completed, therefore that's what your DUI level comes to. It's just like doing a Class A, Class B, Class C driver's license. It's the same premise. In this way, nobody gets hurt in the testing.
Yeah.
You're able to legally, or not legally, but scientifically find out how well people do at certain alcohol levels, because as we said, not everybody acts the same or responds the same to alcohol, and therefore, not everybody is as prone to, getting an infraction. Even, they may have gotten pulled over at a DUI stop section. I don't know what they're called, but a DUI task force roadblock, and they get pulled over, or they get stopped. They're driving fine. The cop didn't pull them over in action, but they go through and people smell alcohol in their breath. Therefore, they get arrested. that's not always fair, because if they can drive okay, then I believe in the no harm, no foul rule. I understand people want to take preventative measures, because especially people that have lost loved ones, drunken driving incidences.
Oh, yeah.
And I completely understand that, and that's why I say first time that they screw up at all on the driving simulation, they fail that level, and the previous level is where they get. Of course, you may want to take a sober session to see, compare things, because some people are just bad drivers to begin with, and I could be completely in favor of
like my
removing them
sister-in-law.
licenses.
Like my sister-in-law, I think she drives just as bad as a drunk driver when she's completely sober. I mean, she swerves everywhere. She's in the middle of the road.
Car.
Yeah, exactly. She backs into people when she's leaving her driveway. I mean, seriously, it's crazy.
So,
I'll say another good idea. It should be something that's renewed, because bodies change.
Absolutely.
Renewed every 5 years. You go back in there. You pay the same fee, because this is an extra privilege.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't mind paying for it.
Exactly.
Pay the same fee. You go in there. You test it out. Oh wait. Oh, my body changed a little bit. I now am like 2 percentage points lower, or 0.02 percentage points lower. All right. Be a little bit more careful, and that's fine.
See, exactly. And you know how many people would sign up for this?
Everyone.
Yeah, so many people. I mean, anybody that goes to bars, they would sign up for this. $150 a pop, or even make it $300. I would probably pay $300, because you know what the average DUI costs somebody? $2,000.
Yeah, I was gonna say I did a report on this back in like high school, because when I was reading through the California driver's manual, they had a whole list on that. How much does a DUI actually cost you? And it was like $2,100, $2,500, something like that, between court fees and legal fees and lawyer fees,
fines,
exactly.
Everything. And so that it would pay for itself if you got a machine that lasts 10 years and you had people renew every 3 years. You would pay that off easily, without a shadow of a doubt, especially if you only had one in each state. Put one in the capital of each state. Make people come to you. If they want this extra privilege, making them work for it.
Exactly, because then not everyone's going to want to do it. Let's say you live, northern Idaho, and you have to drive all the way to Boise to do it. They're probably not going to do it very often. They might not renew after their 3 or 5 years. They're probably going to wait a little bit of time.
Exactly. But either way, it's something that could work. Like I said, by giving somebody a 0.08 blanket threshold, it's saying, it's not really fair, because it's saying, all right, if you weigh over 200 pounds, you're obese. It doesn't work for everybody. Everybody has, different ways of handling different things, and so that's why we're saying that, if you tested for this, then it should be allowed. That was our thought, just because we think that we would benefit from this law.
Exactly. I think we'd benefit a lot, because I would love to have a beer right here. I'll bet, this is going to be probably about a 7 to 8 hour drive. Maybe bring a 6-pack, and I might finish 4 of them. It's like, I don't see any problem with that. I probably wouldn't get above 0.08 if I was able to sit here with a beer and drink that whole time.
Yeah.
I wouldn't get over a 0.08.
Because, well, for one, you're responsible, and you know that you're driving, so you're not like, oh, I'm gonna pound this 12 ounce, or I'm gonna shotgun it.
Exactly. It's not like I'm gonna do the hour of power as we're sitting here driving and drinking.
Exactly. You're just saying, a beer would be nice. I like the taste of beer. I enjoy drinking beer. It'd be nice to just have one here to, it helped me enjoy this 7-hour drive a little bit better. And honestly, I'm never gonna get above 0.08 anyways, but because of open container laws, I'm not allowed to do it.
Yeah.
And so that's another thing, like we said, if you get above a certain threshold, say if you pass any level above 0.08, you're allowed to have an open container, but that open container can never have alcohol content higher than 5%
yeah,
alcohol.
Because that's your basic beer. Barely any beers go. Well, there are beers that go over it, but that's just what my brother drinks. That's just the Earthquake. That's 12%.
Well, or you get
anyway.
microbrews.
True. Some of those go over.
This is where you can bend lines, but if somebody's drinking a Black Butte Porter, they're not going to be pounding those anyways, because they're so heavy. But
like your basic Miller Lights, your Coors Lights, your Bud Lights,
Keystone Lights, all unofficial partners of this show.
All unofficial partners who all probably love this idea.
Right.
Because that would up their gas station, stop at a gas station, grab myself a 24 ounce.